Hey there, aspiring horror authors. It's another episode of Sako and the Moon, created by two self published horror authors. Today we are talking about engaging with readers. I am Sako Toomey, artist and author, and a bunch of other things, but we'll just mention that I'm self published three times over and I've been working on my craft for decades, and now I would like to share that skill set with you guys.
And I'm the moon. That's it. No. Um, One-time published horror author, um, filmmaker, screenwriter, doer of the things. And currently, it is the Kentucky Oaks. Today's Oaks Day here in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's a big, huge deal. The second most important horse race in the world. The biggest one will be tomorrow. And this is just one more piece of our 2 weeks of partying because it's what we do. Because we're Louisville. That's what we do.
Yay! That's super rad.
It's pretty dope. Like there's nothing else on TV right now on local channels
Oh, yeah, I bet.
because it's the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby is tomorrow, and the Derby is the first leg of the Triple Crown. So there's the Belmont Stakes, the Preakness, and the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky Derby is first, and we're the most important because it's us. I look so red.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
We'll just say I've eaten a lot of blueberries, and so
Yeah,
it's a blue tint.
it's a blue tint.
I was at Wonka's last week.
Wonkas?
Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, girl turns into a blueberry.
Ah, you turning into a cherry. Is that the
I'm gonna go for blueberry. I think
going for blueberry?
I
Okay.
think I got like a slightly blue tint with the shadowing from my hat.
Mm-hmm.
I could just do this, but I feel like that's really stereotypical. Oh God, no, I can't do that.
No, you can't. Please
We're gonna
don't
pretend
do
like that
that.
didn't happen.
Please don't do
You're like, oh dear God, please don't do that. No, I won't do it
Oh
again.
God.
We're
Oh
gonna be
God.
Sako and Sako here in a minute. Like, no more. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Uh,
Connecting with readers.
Connecting with readers. Engaging with fans and readers is a vital aspect of building a successful author career, especially in the horror genre where devoted fans can become such staunch supporters and advocates for your work. In this segment, we'll explore the power of building a loyal fan base, hosting giveaways and contests, collaborating with other horror authors. No, we're not doing that. That's a different paper. And the
I was saying,
importance.
I'm not gonna do it.
We're not doing that. And the importance of actively responding to reader feedback and reviews.
Now, if you do want to hear us talk about collaborating, just watch last week's episode.
Yes,
We talked about collaborating like in depth
in
last week.
depth last
So
week.
feel
Yeah.
free to just go back and watch last week's. It really wasn't yesterday, I swear. Last week's episode, and while you're at it, go watch the rest. Give
While
it a
you're
like,
at it.
comment.
And this is the last episode of the season.
It is
It is. So, yeah,
perfect
you might
time
want
to
to
go
catch
back
up.
and go
Might want
watch
to
all the other
catch up.
things.
Yeah. And you would learn so much.
So
That's like
much
10
knowledge
hours of knowledge just
for free,
for free.
and you get to see our lovely faces.
Yes. All right. A loyal fan base can be a valuable asset for any author, providing support, enthusiasm, and word of mouth promotion for your work. Here's why building a loyal fan base is essential. Support and encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Fans who love your work are likely to recommend it to others. Word of mouth. It's a cool thing. Helping to expand your audience and attract new readers through word of mouth promotion. Two, oh, that was word of mouth promotion. Excuse me, I hopped a paragraph. Loyal fans provide invaluable support and encouragement, cheering you on through both successes and challenges in your writing journey, which is kind of where I like YouTube is kind of where I get that.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Um, we just talked about word of mouth and sustained sales and success. A loyal fan base can contribute to sustained sales and success for your books, helping to ensure a steady stream of income and opportunities for future projects.
So yeah, that's honestly, it's all pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to add to that. I mean, when you see a commercial for something and it's like, hey, go buy this wonderful hat available online, wherever.
Yeah.
That's cool and all, but it's when you see that hat out in public, you're like, huh, people are actually buying that hat. But then when your best friend is actually wearing that hat, you're like, oh, hey, is that hat really worth it? Like, yo, that hat's really super dope. It's really comfortable and it breathes really well and it blocks the sun. It's just really, really nice. It goes with everything. When your friend tells you to do something or suggests something to you, you're more likely to believe it because of the trust you have in that friend.
Sure.
That's why the word of mouth is so important. It's also why, having collaborations in spaces like this for podcasting, or having people you know and trust giving honest reviews of your work, uh, all of those things are super important because their fan base is going to trust them. Whoever's doing the review or whoever you're collaborating or featuring with, those people are going to have that trust in you, which is going to lead to the product. And fast forwarding to that last note, you know, to write as a hobby is one thing. To publish a book is a different thing.
You
Because
become a business. As
you
soon as
become a
you sell
business.
a copy, you become a business.
Like this cute little moon thing is adorable and all, but it's once I started putting a lot more effort into my work and actually publishing a book when this became synonymous with me, and that became a brand, which is why I wear it every week. Because like I was talking with you earlier today or yesterday, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to wear a brand, I might as well wear mine. If you're going to represent a brand, it might as well be yours. If somebody's going to talk
Exactly.
about, if someone's going to talk about some fashion, it might as well be somebody you're close to, or yours. Who cares? Like that's that's the important part. And if you're going to invest money into it, because we talk about that all the time, you wear all the hats, so all the money, all the investment comes from you, whether that's emotional investment, mental investment, talent investment, or financial investment. If that's coming from you, then you need to get a return on investment. Um, ROI. There just needs to be a return on your investment, and that's where pushing the book comes, promoting your podcast, having people just asking people or influencers to wear your clothes. Does that mean you give out some samples? Sure does. Does that mean you do a couple giveaways? Sure does. I
And
would love.
we'll talk about giveaways here
And
shortly
we'll
too.
pause on a second because you know who I'm going to bring up when it comes to giveaways.
Hmm.
We'll talk about that when we get to giveaways.
Oh, okay.
All right. It's
All
a
right.
surprise even for Sako.
It's a
But
surprise even for me.
there you go.
Yeah.
We really do talk about this show before we start. We do. But then we surprise each other all the time. We're just like, hey, I had a thought. Like, oh, did you? Yeah, you'll find out in a minute. I'm like, okay.
Hosting giveaways, contests, and offering exclusive content are excellent ways to reward your fans and keep them engaged with your work. Here's how these strategies can benefit your author brand. First, incentivized engagement. Giveaways and contests incentivize engagement with your audience, encouraging readers to interact with your content and share it with others.
And sometimes the interaction can be something as simple as a dumb question.
Yeah.
Like, what's your favorite color? Like, there's
That's
a
the
lot of
dumbest of questions.
it is the dumbest of questions. But I'll tell you, I did that the other day.
Yeah.
I spontaneously asked people what their favorite color was.
And the
And
engagement just.
there was a lot of engagement with it. And I didn't do it. I had a really dumb reason for actually doing it. But, there was a lot of people who responded. I'm trying to find the post that I can actually get a number for you.
Metrics.
There's roughly, I didn't respond to any because there was no reason for me to respond about a person's favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
But on this off chance thing that I posted, like in the dead of night, 25 people responded to that.
Wow.
Now, 25 doesn't sound like a lot of people, but I'll say this.
In the dead of night, though?
Like, it was like 9, 10, 11 o'clock when I posted that. And the post, of course, doesn't disappear in like 5 minutes, so it's there. So here's the kicker. 25 people doesn't seem like a lot of people. But if I turned around and thanked everybody for responding to that and then said, hey, you know what? I appreciate all of you all who entered and responded to this. I'm gonna put you all in a competition for a free copy of my book and tickets to the premiere of my next movie.
Right on.
More people might engage because they want to enter in that contest. And if I said, hey, if you don't win or if you just don't really care, you can also come to my website and purchase a hat or a copy of the book. Now you're linking to your product. And if 25 people bought a $5 book, I made over $100 because I asked people about their favorite color.
Dun dun dun.
Imagine if I said something that was a little bit more engaging. Indeed. Imagine if you did that twice a day, every day. You made a point to, in the morning, ask a question, in the evening, ask a question. And people got used to those kind of questions. They got used to engaging with you. And you engaged back and responded. Mm-hmm. If you had that reputation of, oh, well, if I say something, he might write back. And they like my work and they become a fan. That 25 today is 50 over 2 posts. Yeah. And if each one bought a book, if half of them bought a book,
if 2% of like 100 people or whatever, right? If 2% of 100 people buy your book, that's a success.
I agree, because that's still book sales, and it's again, let's say 25 is the norm and all I'm going to get, right? 25 people engaging in whatever random post I make. Mm-hmm. All right, I do it twice a day. That's 50 people engaging with the post, right? If again 20 people bought a copy of the book, I sell my book for $5. It's a small book. That's $100. If I did that every day and 20 new people engaged, or 50 new people engaged, but 20 people bought a copy of the book over the course of a week, I've made some decent money, Mm-hmm. And depending on what your product is, if your product is something that people can buy more of, because once you buy a copy of the book, you don't typically buy a second one. But
not usually.
But it could be anything. If you sell food items, if you sell shirts or some other kind of merchandise, these are the kinds of things that get people engaged. Mm-hmm. And when they get engaged, they get involved, and people love to be involved. You see that with sharing of posts. You see that with stitching. I remember that word this time. You see that with stitching and duetting. People love to be involved in trends, and they love to be involved in whatever's popular. And if you're the thing that's popular, there you go.
And that's the trick, is to make yourself be popular, right?
That's where the money comes from.
So we want to generate excitement
Hmm.
is the moral of that story. So exclusive content such as bonus chapters or short stories or behind the scene glimpses can generate excitement among fans and keep them eagerly anticipating your next release.
True story. Everything comes back to wrestling. You'll hear me say that a million one times.
Yeah.
There's a channel on YouTube called Wrestle Talk, and I'm a huge fan of theirs. And they do this video game show where they play a wrestling video game. And if you join their Patreon for like $5, then you get the next week's episode in advance.
Mm-hmm.
You get like a bonus podcast where they discuss what they had done in that particular episode of them playing the game. Makes
Sure.
more sense if you knew what they were talking about, but ultimately for this conversation, it's not important. It's the point that they give you some content for free. They
Right.
get you invested in that content, the free content, and then they have subsequent content that is like, hey, we had a further conversation. You'll have to come over here to listen to it, and if you care enough, you'll do so.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, it's no big deal. Like, imagine if we did a whole extra hour of this show exclusively on a paid platform.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
I'm just saying, this is one of those things and how it would apply in our space.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a very level professional conversation. We have a guest coming in about a month or so, and we're really hyped about this guest. You're going to hear us talking about it cryptically up until then. Um, but what this guest, I can see us having a really straightforward, very pro level conversation. We're going to be talking to that person, talking about their works, who they are as an individual,
Oh,
and
sure.
that will be this show, the one that you get for free on Fridays at 2:00. But afterwards, I've drank with this man. I know that there's some good conversation that we can have afterwards, and that would be
Absolutely.
and those would be the kinds of things like, hey, if you really want to know how this guy feels about this topic, then hop over to insert platform here, go to our website, and engage in this extra content for a relatively low price. Because I'll throw this out here real quick. Don't feel like you have to charge $1 billion.
Indeed.
Think of it this way. If you charge $100 for your exclusive content, you might get one person. Congratulations, you made $100.
Mm-hmm.
If you charge $1 for access to your exclusive content, but you have an audience of 300 people can lose $1 and not notice. So 100 people, 200 people, they may be able to invest that dollar every month for your extra content. You'll make hand over fist after that.
Indeed.
Because they're just like, it's an extra $1. Who cares? You care when you cash that check at the end of the month.
So, expanding reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giveaways and contests can help expand your reach by attracting new followers,
Yep.
dragging in new people and readers who may not have discovered your work otherwise. Absolutely. Um, I became a fan of CM Selly, I believe. The Another urban fantasy with horror overtones sort of writer,
Mm-hmm.
and he had like a convention, right? And he set up a big display and took a picture of it and everything like that. And I wouldn't have found him had he not done a promo on his table. So, like, little, like, um, behind the scenes sort of sort of deals, I feel like is a great way of dragging in new people.
I agree. Because there's a contest that I'm always involved in accidentally, and I've mentioned it here before. Barbara V. Evers does this thing about giraffes. It's every Tuesday. She's on her, and I really don't see a whole lot of other posts from her unless she's at like an event. But every Tuesday in that morning around this 9 o'clock hour, she posts a trivia question about giraffes. I've never cared about giraffes. I don't care about giraffes,
Yeah.
but I love some trivia. And
Ah.
I do love some trivia. So I'll see a random question and she gives 4 options or so. How hard is it to text C and then be done with it?
Yeah.
And then she enters you in the contest because you answered, and then she gives you an extra point because you got it right. So at the end of her, whatever her period of time is, she actually has a leaderboard, and the first, second, and third place people get a thing. It's either a bunch of giraffe related swag or it's a free copy of her book.
Oh, sweet.
And think about it. So you hand somebody a free copy of your book because they answered giraffe questions. Honestly, they're questions that you could very well Google before you respond, so you could, push yourself to I'm not telling you to cheat, but there's no immediate rule saying you can't. It's online. Who cares? But you get book 1 of your series in somebody's hand, and you've got 3 parts to your series. I mean, if they enjoy part 1, they're going to get part 2, and they're going to get part 3. Just never give away parts 2 and part 3. Always make them buy part 2. Always make them buy part 3, and then now you've got them engaged because there's no investment. They just answer the question.
Well, the loss leader, right?
Yeah,
So
it's the milk in the grocery store.
this is the same concept of oh, I just lost my train of thought.
Go ahead and go with the milk in the grocery store.
No, it's the milk in the grocery store that derailed me.
Oh, well, while you're thinking of that, I'll tell the milk in the grocery store.
Okay.
Most of the cases when you go to the grocery store, the milk's in the back of the grocery. This is by design. Most people buy things like staples, such as milk at the grocery. But on your way to the milk at the back of the store, all those promos, all those sales, all those items, they can reduce price on those types of items and minimize their markup or minimize their profit margin because they're going to have higher profit margin things en route to you. Think in the gas station when you're at the counter and there's that little rack. Because I used to work at the gas station, so I can tell this secret.
Oh,
there's that little candy rack that's right there by the counter.
yeah.
And they're always asking you, do you want to buy a Reese cup that's right here by the counter? Let me let you in on a little corporate secret. I didn't sign shit, so it's fine. That's just essentially free. The companies basically said, here's some Reese cups, for example, and now you've paid essentially $0 to acquire the Reese cups, and you push them, so there's a higher margin on them.
Right.
And they do that for the promotional aspect of them. So there's extra incentive for the corporate on the corporate side of things for you to push that item. That's why they're always asking their cashiers to harass you about it. Do you want to buy this candy bar? No thanks. Are you sure? They're 2 for $3. You sure you don't want to just grab one even? Or you already got a candy bar, grab a second one, or those little deals in the cooler they always send you back for. This is the reason why. If it's on sale, there's probably a higher markup on it because they've paid less for it because it's promotional. They're going to get the money back in volume. That's what I should do. But the point is, the loss leader, as you were saying, there's something that there's something you can offer essentially for free. Sure, there's technically a loss on it, but you're going to make up for it on the back
subsequent.
Yeah. So when you give the book for free on the front end in part 1, then by the time part 2 and part 3 come around, the person's going to buy that at almost guaranteed full retail price.
Well, fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Or they'll wait for your sale, which if your sale is structured right, you're still going to do fine.
Yeah.
and it's still a new fan, they're still going to be engaged. Buying a copy of part 3 shows that they're into what you do. It shows them that they're into what you do. They're likely to buy whatever your next series is. If you co-write with someone else, after that, whatever you engage in, coming to visit you at cons or your appearances, all those things start because they became familiar with you in some silly little engagement, like answering questions about giraffes or telling some rando dude what your favorite color is.
Indeed. Indeed.
There's methods to this madness, man.
Man. So that is why you will often find on Amazon, you will find the first book for free or for 99 cents.
Yep.
And then the subsequent books become more and more expensive,
Closer to
technically.
full price. Closer to full
So, you know, that is that.
price. It's a gamble. It's a gamble, but it's a worthy one.
It
If
is a gamble.
when it works out, it works out. But being an independent writer, that's a gamble. Starting your own business and doing your own thing, that's a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Life, man, life's a gamble.
Yeah, it's dicey. It's dicey.
It's a word for it.
Okay.
It can get janky pretty quickly. It's the word of the day.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about reader feedback and reviews and stuff like that. Actively engaging with reader feedback and reviews demonstrates your appreciation for your audience and helps to foster a sense of connection and trust. And here's why it's important. Acknowledgement and gratitude. Responding to reader feedback shows that you value and appreciate your audience's input, fostering a sense of acknowledgement and gratitude. Opportunity for improvement. Take critique, I suppose.
Yeah.
Reader feedback provides valuable insights into what resonates with your audience and areas for improvement in your writing, allowing you to continuously refine your craft.
Yeah. Because sometimes things that you think are amazing, things that you think work, things that you think are like, oh yeah, this joke, this kind of comedy, yeah, this is gonna hit every time, and it doesn't.
And it doesn't, yeah.
And you won't know until you get feedback, until you put it out there in the universe, and someone says, like, it's one thing to just be like, ooh, but you need somebody out there to be willing to look at you and say, like, yo, this didn't hit. I'll tell you why. And
that's what I want my beta readers for.
And they have to be comfortable with you doing that.
And art readers.
They can't just have, that sensibility that the moment that they don't like your product, you're gonna like lash out at them. That's a great way to never have a career in your space. Because to my knowledge, that's kind of a thing that's been happening recently. People have been out there
and barking at their readers. Yeah.
It's just like, oh, well, you just didn't get it. Oh, no.
No.
They didn't like it. They didn't like it. Maybe your joke was too subtle. Maybe you hit them too hard over the head with it. Maybe it flew beyond the reader. But at the same time, if I'm trying to make a point in my writing and I realize that I'm too cryptic with it, stylistically, or just the joke doesn't land because I didn't set up enough back knowledge for it, or I just assumed everyone was familiar with the molasses massacre in Massachusetts or whatever the situation was, that was a real thing, and which I'm not allowed to talk about, but it really did happen. But that's a good example. It's like, did you know about this time when there's like hundreds of thousands of gallons of molasses just fell over the streets of Boston and killed a bunch of people?
Yep.
Now, see, I didn't know about that for a while. You know about that. So if I make a reference to that in one of my writings, sure, that will go over that with you and with me. We'll laugh, we'll chuckle because that's ridiculous.
Because that's ridiculous. However,
However,
the
if,
average Joe is probably not going to get such a reference.
right, and if you have a lot of fans in Massachusetts, they may not appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah.
So you might just turn them off to it. So know your audience. Know your
Not
audience.
just that, not just knowing your audience, but knowing the impact that your content is going to have on your audience.
Right. And you learn that as well. This is what I was getting at. All that was to say, learn your audience. The best way to learn your audience is to listen to your audience. So when your
Absolutely.
audience is like, hey, read your last book, parts of it didn't really sit well with me. I was a little bit uncomfortable, or this kind of language was problematic, or I didn't quite understand what the struggle this character was going through. Whatever the level, take that feedback for what it is. Say thank you, show your appreciation. I mean, throw them some stickers if you have that kind of thing, or whatever, and then think back and take that criticism to heart. Like, well, I wrote this, but I didn't really explain X, Y, and Z. Because one of the biggest things writers always have an issue with, at least if your name is Dewan Hearn, the biggest issue you end up having is that I know everything that's supposed to happen in my story because I'm writing it, but not everything translates to the page the same way.
Right.
Sometimes we leave things out, we don't realize it because we get the backstory, because we know the backstory, because we made up the backstory.
And
But if
that
you
is why I always get a developmental editor.
right, and that's why it's important to have somebody and listen to that feedback. Like she said, get that developmental editor, get those beta readers, get those sensitivity readers, have
And
those
arcs.
people, have them call you back, have them write you an email, show me where I may have fallen short. Doesn't mean you're a bad writer, doesn't mean that you're not good at your craft. It just means that for that particular project, it needs to be spruced up just a smidge.
Right.
Here to the left, here to the right, and then you're good. Trust the
Absolutely.
people.
And the people will trust you back.
That's how that works.
Oh. I should have closed my door at some juncture, but I did not. So I'm smart.
Be live. You'd almost think that something happens with each live broadcast on purpose. It doesn't. This is just how live broadcast works.
Yep. Yep.
Do
Yep. Yep.
you need to get up and close the door?
No.
Okay.
No, not this far into the show,
I mean, okay. It takes like 3 seconds to go close the door. Like, I'm not gonna be able to.
Okay. I'm gonna close the door.
Yeah, it's cool. We're just gonna close the door and we're just gonna like be here. While
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. We just close the door. It's good. I do the same thing. Like I'm literally adjusting my lights like right now. You wear all the hats. And sometimes that means you gotta close your own doors. Adjust your own lighting. You gotta do all the things. I think it was like 15 seconds. It's fine. Like 15 seconds. It's cool. It's fine.
It's fine. Yes.
It's fine.
Okay. Because I'm running out of notes, which means that's when we devolve into
That's when
wacky conversation.
remember how this show works. She gives you all this wonderful, fantastic information over years and years and years of experience, and I fuck it all up.
Milk and see, there is a like quick stop sort of situation in the opening of my grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So your milk, your coffee creamer, your what else do they put there? Iced coffee, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
you can. It's right next to the registers. As soon as you come into the store. So milk, like
Some of that will be promotional stuff. Some of that's going to be high margin stuff. It's like if they're going to walk in real quick and just like grab something small and fast, then we're going to put a high margin on that, which means they paid maybe $1.25 for the can and charge you $3.99.
Well, maybe for the coffee, but
Yeah, the
not
can
so
thing.
much for the milk.
You'd be surprised. I,
You
you
think
know,
you think skim milk would be more expensive than like whole milk?
no, 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 no. I'm just saying that like I've read some invoices working in the convenience stores, so I know how much the store pays for certain items, and I've watched our costs go up like 2 pennies, and it goes up like a dollar and a half on the shelf,
Yeah,
and that's just America,
such
That's
as
just that's
such
just
as
that's just capitalism. That's just how that works.
the one point I wanted to make was before we start
Rabbit holing it,
devolving into like wacky conversation is that
spiral of death.
trust and loyalty that we were talking about,
Yes,
right? So by actively engaging with your reader feedback, and it says reviews, right? But maybe like as a debut author, I recommend not reading your reviews and having
I
a
did.
trusted friend.
I did.
You did.
I read my reviews. I have like four, and that's fine. Um,
That's pretty good.
I have four reviews. They're pretty good. I'm sitting at like a 4.5 star.
Okay.
Okay. Um, someone did a video book review of the book, and that was positive. I
Nice.
watched that one, but it was positive, and I was a wreck because I saw that she was going to do it. She had listed like, here's the books I'm going to do this month, and she listed mine. I was like,
Oh God. Yeah.
and but listen to Sako. Your best bet's to have someone like, hey, how are those reviews doing? They're great. That's all you need to know. They're fantastic.
And not just that, but being able to pick and choose the reviews that they read off
Yeah.
to you that you do not read, they read it to you.
And that's the thing about reviews, though, because not all reviews are about you. You might,
Right.
if your book is fantastic, but it came damaged because the Amazon delivery guy left the box out in the rain, that's not your fault.
That
But the review is on your page and it goes towards like your overall star rating.
mm-hmm.
So they'll get mad at you for it. You can't control that it rained that day and that the Amazon guy didn't put it underneath the awning that you don't have. Like, it's
Oh,
not your fault.
awning.
So you have to understand be able to filter it out. And as a creative, that's hard to do. That's hard to filter through. So, like Sako said, you might want to just have somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. That was advice that I got from Alexa Dunn, who is another author. I don't want to call her an author tuber, but she is an author on YouTube who gives advice on certain uh, topics.
I got the same advice from Jenny Kiefer.
Mm-hmm.
She's an author. She put out her debut novel this past January.
Oh, cool.
And she's also owner of a horror bookstore locally here in Louisville. And I had a chance to sit and talk with her at some point, and she said the same thing. She has a friend that all of her ARC readers, those uh, author review copies, uh, those readers, those people who left reviews, the friend filtered through those emails, and not her,
And
because
not her.
there's a lot of anxiety that goes with that. Some people just
Yes.
some people just really shouldn't. It's just like, don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about it. Just,
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't
yeah,
let me know.
just
Yeah.
trust somebody to handle it for you. That's one hat you shouldn't wear. One hat you shouldn't wear.
Otherwise, you might bark at your readers, which
And that's
would
bad.
be which would be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole. Like that's a pretty good
Don't be
rule
a
of thumb.
jerk. Don't.
Like people are allowed to people are allowed to not like your stuff.
Yeah.
People are allowed to have their opinions of it. People are allowed to think that you're funny when you're supposed to be serious, or that maybe you shouldn't write anymore. They can have that opinion. That doesn't mean that that should alter your thought process. That doesn't mean that you should stop your dreams. And it also means you don't need to retaliate. You can
Right.
just smile and nod and carry on. Because chances are, for every one troll that you have on your social media or in your reviews, there's like 10 or 12 people who genuinely appreciate your work. They may not be a fan of romance, but they like your style of dialogue and how you depict the scene. You know, those kinds of things can easily be appreciated by anybody.
I would watch out for the reader who is reading outside of their genre. Like they wouldn't otherwise read your book. So
Right.
they're like, this book isn't for me, and this is why. And usually they will confess that they don't normally read that genre.
You'll get that eventually. If it's like a random review, then you may not. But if it's like a Twitter exchange,
Oh,
it'll
that's
come
different.
it'll
Yeah.
come out eventually. But
Mm.
no, because that's the thing. If people who don't like horror for some reason. They don't like the gore. They don't like people dying. They don't like maybe a facet of horror. Maybe they don't like slashers or psychological horror or body horror. Some people might like a slasher, but they don't like body horror. And body horror is a wholly different section of horror.
Absolutely.
And if they like horror, so they're reading and then they check out your stuff, but it's very body horror related, they may have some opinions on it. That's not a you problem. That really is a them problem. They don't like that thing that you did. That's not
Yeah.
on you, and you have to learn to not internalize it. The whole thing. Engaging with your readers is a matter of being respectful and being acceptant of the criticism, but don't internalize it. Don't give yourself anxiety or throw all your pens away because Joe Blow 315 doesn't like your latest book. And don't get yourself a big head because a lot of people did. That's another side of that coin that people don't talk about. Like if everyone likes your stuff and you're pretty good, you did pretty well. Hey, even if you won an award for it, don't give yourself a big head. You can still make mistakes. And you
Absolutely.
still need to learn to listen to other people's criticism. Maybe you follow their advice, maybe you don't. You still need to be respectful when you listen to it. Never be that guy that's like, oh, I've written 10 books already. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you how to fix your stuff. Whoa. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. In the end, you'll lose the respect of your peers. You'll lose the respect of your cohorts, and that's what you really need to focus on. The
Yeah.
respect of your readers, the respect of your other fellow authors.
Mm. In conclusion, engaging with fans and readers is a crucial aspect of building a successful author brand in the horror genre. By cultivating a loyal fan base, hosting giveaways, and actively responding to reader feedback, you can create a vibrant and engaged community around your work, driving sustained success and recognition in the genre.
And one thing we didn't really mention, but it feeds into it all: consistency.
Oh, uh, that gets dicey,
It
right?
does, but I like to. The only reason why I mention it is because creating a schedule of your own is important. I don't feel like everyone has to do everything in the matter of like every week, once a week, 3 times a day, those kind of things. There's a channel that I've talked about before. They put out a video once every 6 months. But
Yeah,
I know
sure.
it's coming. But I know it's coming. It's every 6 months, but I know it's coming. And I know as a fan, I can get involved, I can get engaged with their content is. And sure, it might take them 6 months to produce one, 8 or 9 if life happens, but there's still something to engage with. I guess is kind of the point I'm making. Like having something to engage with. If you're going to have content, make content. Don't put out 2 episodes of your show and then never do it again, and then expect that everyone's going to love your 2 shows, and then you're going to make a bunch of money off those 2 shows. No, put another one out. If people like and engage what you do, talk with them. What did you like about this show? What did you like about this book? What did you like about this insert thing that I made here?
And my niece is doing that with my sister right now. Is she draws, right? And she will go to her mother and be like, "Hey, I drew this thing," and my sister will be like, "I like it," and niece goes, "What do you like about it?" And my sister is like,
So in the parent draft, paragraph 3, I'm supposed to tell you that it's great. There's no knowledge in the handbook on what I'm like.
How to handle this question. She's like, "That's kind of mean. Like, don't do that. Especially if her attention is divided somehow."
Yeah. Right, but have a good answer. I mean, that's important.
Have a good answer. Yeah.
Be encouraging, be honest, but like I was saying, the whole point of everything I wanted to mention in that last part was just have something for your fans to engage with. If you put out the one book and that's all they ever have, yeah, it'll rock for a minute, but it won't. It's not sustainable. If you want your career to be sustainable, there has to be more coming out. There has to be more to engage with. If you do a live stream on Monday, do it a second Monday, maybe even a third Monday. 3 Mondays in a row would be great. 3 different Mondays close together, that's okay. Because consistently doesn't mean daily.
No.
Doesn't mean weekly. The timetable is yours to decide. It's whatever works for you and what you're doing. If it suddenly isn't working, then just don't do it. Because there's no point in adding extra stress onto yourself just for shits and giggles. No one wants extra stress for shits and giggles.
No.
So yeah, just be mindful that your fans are looking to engage. Once they've had that good engagement with you, they're going to want to come back and do it again.
Yes.
So let them come back and do it again. Give them a platform upon which they can, whether that's a social media account on Twitter or Threads or TikTok, whether that's appearing at local events like conventions or local libraries or whatever the situation is that best fits your circumstance. Do it. And remember that if it works and people dig it, people like it, they dig it. And if that's what makes you profitable, that's kind of the name of the game in the end.
Isn't it?
Don't get me wrong. I can write all my stories and such for free and keep them to myself, but I'm putting them out there for the public. I can also do that for free, but the things that go along with it aren't free. So if you're going to invest in it, invest in it and have a return on that investment. Because this is a business.
It is.
It doesn't. Creatives hate that part. They hate when you're make what you love a business. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Filmmakers, we spend money on cameras and lights and locations and props, and writers spend money on editors and publishing and someone to do the art for our covers. The money is spent. If you just got it like that, then cool, I ain't mad at you. But if you don't, then make sure there's a return on your investment. Think your strategy through. And if you need help with that strategy, that's why we have shows like us. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
You can watch our show every week on Friday live at 2:00 or whatever time we're putting it on. And
Or whatever time we're putting it on.
whenever we're on. That's why you have to hit subscribe and then hit the notification bell so that you know exactly when we're on. So you know when we're live. So you can get all that free information from us.
Indeed.
And we can be part of that strategy for you. So you can think about, I do need to consider return on investment. I did kind of put a few dollars into that. A developmental editor, I'd never even heard of that. Where do I find one? Now I know what to search for. How did I know what to search for? Because Sako told me.
Yeah. Yes. So if you liked this video at any point, I encourage you to hit the like button. And like he said, you might want to subscribe and maybe even ring the bell on the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you when we go live. And we will catch you on the flip side.